Here we are going to new computer animation tutorial in Adobe Animate, and what we're doing for this particular animation project is going over what are called a shape tween. Now we've been over classic tweens and motion tweens, and there's one other kind of tween in Animate that we can use, and that's called a shape tween. And basically what it does is it allows us to make a shape change shape and also change color as well. So we can do things like, imagine this being in a graph or some kind of animated graph or a thermometer of some kind, a door swinging open, a vine or a snake kind of wiggling around, and then who knows what this is, just kind of this blob shape changing around over here. So these can be very useful tweens in making something happen frame by frame that are or something that would normally you might think you have to do frame by frame, but instead this makes it a lot quicker and easier at times. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new document here, and action script 3 is what we'd like it to say. I'm going to start with that bar that I had going along the left, going red to green, and so I'm going to start with my rectangle tool and just make a small skinny rectangle down at the bottom that is red. I'm going to go out about 20 frames and hit F6 on my keyboard to create a new keyframe, and then I'm going to take my transform tool and just go ahead and stretch this out and then slide it up a little bit so it's staying in my stage. And then ideally what would be nice is if we went to create shape tween, and voila, this is actually working out. First attempt. Sometimes you may experience some difficulty with the tweens working the way that you intend them to. In this instance, it worked out just fine. What I'm going to do then is go out to 40 frames, and I'm going to hit F6 again to create another keyframe. And here I am going to shrink this back down and then move it back down to kind of the lower part here. Now if I really want to make sure this is working right, I would make sure kind of like marking my base here. You can see it slides down a little bit, and then let's see, I'll add this shape tween in here, right clicking in between those two keyframes, and then the bottom moves a little bit, so I could tweak that to make sure that it doesn't move or shift. And now if I take this middle frame here and I just change this rectangle to whatever color you'd like, it could be any color. I just thought, it's kind of interesting. It could be a cool feature to go from something like red level to green level kind of thing, as in bad to good, or not full to full. So there is one example of a use for a shape tween. Let's go ahead and create a new layer, and we'll go into the next one. So what we're going to do is use our rectangle tool again, and we're going to select a brown color for this one. We're going to make kind of a door swinging open on this part. So what I'd like us to do is go ahead and make a rectangle there on your first frame. I'm going to slide this over a little more towards the center of my stage. I'm going to label this one door, and what I'll do then is I'm going to go out to the 20th frame again and hit F6 again for a new keyframe. Going to take my transform tool again, and this time what I'm going to choose is the distort option from my options bar with your free transform tool. So once I take that, what that'll allow me to do is if I hold down the shift key, you'll see your tool change a little bit. Hold down the shift key and pull from a corner. It will also skew the opposite corner. Okay, so I need that to make sure it stays within your stage and doesn't go outside of that. And I'm also going to take this spot and just squish it inwards to maybe about there, sort of a trapezoid type shape. Alright, and then what I can do is also I'm going to take this first shape here. I'm going to select this shape. I'm going to hit Command C to copy, and then I'm going to go to this last frame here. I'm going to hit F6 to create a new keyframe. I'm going to delete this one, and then I'm going to go to Edit and Paste in Place. So just paste that rectangle right back where I copied it from. And now I have all my frames ready, and I just need to go in between and create shape tweens. So again, creating shape tweens for both of those, and ideally now you'll see this door kind of looks like it's a door swinging open and then closed again. So two examples of shape tweens down here. Let's go ahead and make one more layer here. We'll do one more after this. This one we're going to call the vine. And on this first frame here, let's actually take our brush tool and we're going to make our fill color some green. That looks like a good one. Your stroke outline should be nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and start just a little bit below my stage here and kind of go upwards into a little bit of an S curve and then kind of come back down off the stage and close that line. If your line isn't smoothing out like mine, make sure that your smoothing is on. And number is 60 or higher to make your lines really nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and take my fill bucket and fill this in, except I can see there's a little break in my line, so I do have to select the close gaps option before I go ahead with this. So I'm going to go to this first frame. Actually, what I'm going to do is create a few frames here first. So I'm going to hit F6. I'm going to go into, this is about the 12th frame here, hit F6, and then about the 24th or 25th frame, again hit F6, and then one last one on this 40th frame, F6 one last time. Okay, so we got our keyframes all set. We want this vine to kind of go from starting point to starting point. So these two middle ones, we're going to change it a bit. So I'm going to go to my transform tool, make sure you're on this second one of their frames, and we're going to use the envelope option this time. And what this transform tool is going to let us do is just kind of tweak from a bunch of different points within this graphic here. Well, it's actually not a graphic, it's just a raw drawing, right? But what I'm going to do now is go to this next keyframe there and change this up yet again. So again, I'm going to kind of change it a little bit more than I did, or just a little differently than I did on the last one. Okay, and again, recognize that these aren't actual graphics, right? In order to make a classic tween or motion tween, you have to press F8 and convert the graphics to symbols, or your drawings to symbols, right? With a shape tween, they won't work unless these are raw graphics, right? So when you click on them, you see that they appear with the dots on them like that. Okay, so that's how you know you can apply a shape tween to it. I'm going to again go in between all of these keyframe sets right here, and there's a good example of a shape tween gone wrong. Okay, I'm going to go again here and try and add another shape tween. So that one and this one in the middle is doing what I would like it to do, and then again shape tween at the end there, and it looks like this one is yet another one gone wrong. So again, sometimes shape tweens, like I said, can be magical, and sometimes not so much. Sometimes they can be very frustrating to get to work exactly how you'd like. What I would recommend doing is, if you have shape tweens that kind of work this way, it could be that I made these shapes too different, and that it doesn't recognize the shape and the edges of the shape as they go from one shape to the next. So what I can try and do here is just a little bit of kind of trickeration. I'm going to actually take out this keyframe, or these shape tweens that I put in just now. I'm going to take this frame because this tween from this one to this one worked, and so I'm just going to right click here. I'm going to copy this frame. I'm going to go to the end here, and I'm going to paste this frame in here. Okay, so that one worked. This one also worked with what I was trying to do. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to copy this frame, and then I'm going to go to my first frame and paste this frame in place there. So let's see. There's a chance this will work because those drawings were the two that worked before. So now I'm going to create these shape tweens in here, and again, so that is working now. Again, it's not much rhyme or reason to it, other than it just can be challenging for the program to generate the appropriate shape tween at times. So that gets us through these three. One last one that we're going to show is kind of like a blob shape kind of morphing around, and we'll just call this blob. And I'm going to go ahead and take my circle tool, and some color I haven't used yet, so I think I did an orange in the last one. I'll stay true to that. and go ahead and if I click and drag to make a circle, if I hold the shift key, it will make my circle accurate proportionally. And again, same kind of thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to maybe the 10th frame and hit F6, 20th frame, hit F6 again, and 30th frame, hit F6 again, and 40th frame one last time. So then each one of these three that are in the middle here, I'm going to change the shape of, and I'm going to go to my transform tool, the envelope option, which is down here at the bottom, and just going to kind of pull on these different anchor points that we can kind of mess with along the edges here. So that one is good. I'm going to go to the second one, again hit my envelope tool at the bottom there and make this one a little bit different from the others. And go to this third one, hit envelope again at the bottom here, and go and try and do something different each one of those spots. So we'll go with something like this here. Alright, and then this last one should be back to a normal circle. So again, let's try this out and see how it goes. Right clicking in between each of my keyframes, and voila. So that one seemed to work, no issues as well. So go ahead and test run this just to see. And again, these are some of the things you can do with shape tweens, making kind of shapes grow and turn into different colors, kind of create the illusion of doors or books opening, making vines or snaky kind of like shapes and blobs kind of forming, running liquid. If something was to spill and drip, you could animate that pretty well with a shape tween as well. Again, so hopefully you have lots of luck and fun with this assignment and get to know all about shape tweens.